Welcome to the revolution. Revolutions. Is that right? Hello, everybody, and welcome to the end, for now, of Neovember. My journey through the Matrix movies, leading up to December's release of The Matrix Resurrections. We did it! This is the culmination of everything Neo, Morpheus, and the human race has been working and fighting for. It is the final chapter in the Matrix trilogy, except for the Animatrix and the footage they shot for Enter the Matrix, the comic books. Oh, and killing off Morpheus in the Matrix online multiplayer game, which is all canon. Oh, and the new movie coming out in December 2021. Anyway, we are here to talk about the third live-action Matrix movie. Released 6 months after The Matrix Reloaded, Revolutions picks up right where the previous one left off, with Neo's near-lifeless body lying on a table next to the man Smith infected before leaving the Matrix. We find out Neo's mind is still in the Matrix somewhere, because he's Neo. He can apparently detach his mind from his body. So Neo's Matrix self is in a train station, and I guess it symbolizes a kind of limbo for programs. And the Train Man, another named program, is kind of like a defrag program for the Matrix. He decides where these lost and corrupted data and programs end up and puts them in the right places, or they don't go back into the Matrix at all. He's played by the amazing Australian character actor Bruce Spence, known mainly for the Mad Max movies. Miller March? No. Meanwhile, Seraph, Trinity, and Morpheus track down the Merovingian on their quest to locate the Train Man to find Neo. And they end up at this kind of S&M club where the vampire element really shows itself. The train eventually arrives at Neo's stop, reuniting Trinity and Neo once again. And they put his body into a chair, and voila, we have full Neo back. Now, this beginning was super cool. It is a solid start to this chapter. We get new characters, we get some action, and we also get... Well, come on, it's a brand new video, I can say it now. That's right, we get more lore and world building. The Train Man is a very overlooked character. If the current story would have continued past the online video game, I could see this character as something of a mainstay inside the simulation. Also, while at the station, Neo meets Sati, a little girl who is a program along with her family. They all have their uses in the Matrix. Sati comes and goes all throughout this movie, including a scene where Neo makes yet another visit to see the Oracle. And the Oracle sadly had to be recast by another actor because the original had passed before being able to do her scenes for this one. So it was kind of a sad thing when you realize what you're seeing. But the change was addressed in the film, and in a computer simulation, changes to avatars isn't a far-fetched idea. So it wasn't that bad of a change. And I also read that they've also played, the two actors that play the Oracle also played sisters at one point, in previous productions of things. So they don't look exactly alike, but they don't look so dissimilar that you think, whoa, that's really different. Speaking of the Oracle, she tells Neo of the changes that happened to Agent Smith, and that his intentions are to take over and eventually destroy the Matrix. And I thought this was a really interesting conundrum for Neo. I mean, you have the Matrix that is basically turned the majority of humanity into living fuel and nothing else. It's a cage for the living world, thus making it evil. Microphone's in the way. Evil. But at the same time, it's keeping humanity alive, so to speak. So Smith destroying the Matrix would mean the extinction of all humanity, which was his goal from the first movie.
Human beings are a disease, a cancer of this planet. You are a plague, and we are the cure.
And that's kind of it for being inside the Matrix for the most part. Like I mentioned in the Reloaded video, this movie takes place primarily in the real world as Zion prepares for a full-on assault by the machines, and Neo and Trinity have to race against time to get to the city of 01, the home of the machines that we saw briefly in the Animatrix, to convince the machines that there is a choice. There can be peace, and working together to save the Matrix can happen without another hard reboot that the architect in the last movie said it was inevitable. And that's basically the plot of the Matrix Revolutions. So do I like this one? I kind of do. Unlike Reloaded, The Matrix Revolution stays on course and uses the sometimes clunky elements from the previous film to round out the trilogy. The action sequences were a bit different, but it felt just refreshing enough for a new Matrix movie with a lot less Matrix. So it had to be different action. You can't have Matrix moves going on during real life stuff, even though we know Neo can do cool things in the real world now. Questions are answered, and the ending was very satisfying to me. And even though it was brief, having Smith play the character Bane...
Hate this place. This zoo, this prison, this reality, whatever you want to call it. I can't stand it any longer. It's the smell. If there is such a thing.
In the real world, felt good. Mainly because its actor Ian Bliss had Hugo Weaving's mannerisms and his vocal pacing down perfectly. Not to mention he actually physically resembled Hugo Weaving a bit as well.
I see you are as predictable in this world as you are in the other. What?
He's out of his mind.
It might appear that way to you, but Mr. Anderson and I know that appearances can be deceiving.
The fight for Zion was epic on both scale and momentum. With thousands of Sentinels evading and attacking and killing humans, the Wachowskis made this war feel like a war. The desperation of having to disable the drilling machines just to see them repair and adapt was actually pretty chilling, because you're rooting for them when they take it down and they see that they're repairing it, and you're like, no! Seeing so much bloody violence the machines caused felt like a full-on war movie. Not to mention the cool mech suits that James Cameron stole for Avatar. Captain Mifune, head of the mech corps, I guess, begrudgingly takes the kid, from the Animatrix, under his wing, and in the heat of battle, for a small moment, the two bond. It's really quick, but it's super powerful. It gets you. It gets you right here. And in one tiny moment, we see the kid go from sycophant follower to a military leader, and he pretty much saves the day, at least for a little bit. And that's really cool. That's a sign of good character development under a small time constraint. You don't need an entire arc for a character like the kid. You don't need 10-minute exposition knowing who he is, what he has to do, and what he will do for this cause. Now, while all of this is going on, Neo had a fight with Bane inside of a hovercraft, and Bane blinded him. So he has to have Trinity fly the hovercraft to 01. They have to fly through the defenses and above the human-made blackout cloud, which made Trinity see a bright blue sky for the first time in her entire life in the real world. Again, super brief, but super effective. Her face just shows this childlike wonder and determination now to succeed more than ever. And also, while that's going on at the same time as the war is going on inside Zion, Morpheus, Link, and Niobe are racing towards Zion to help, and they have to navigate the small tunnel system while fighting off Sentinels. Good thing Niobe has already been called the human's best pilot. Huh? From the last movie? See? And in my opinion, I really believe the scenes between Morpheus and Niobe were some of the best acting in the series. Jada Pinkett Smith really shows her chops in this part of the movie. I couldn't think of the word scene. It's just part of the movie. Part of the movie. I was so invested on them making back to Zion that I stood up and cheered while watching this movie for the 4th time alone in my living room. But let's get to what everyone remembers about this movie. The final fight between Neo and Agent Smith. This fight was huge. And huge. And it should be. They have been trading blows since 1999. In the real world, Neo and Trinity crash into 01, and Trinity is impaled by shrapnel. Still feeling like she was on the right path, she lets Neo know this is how it has to be, that it's all right. And those feelings got to me, because they felt genuine. I swear they kept all the best acting for this movie, and it wasn't even based on the last movie's reaction due to it all being shot, at once. But Neo manages to get an audience with the head machine, aptly named Deus Ex Machina, and it is a giant child face made up of a bunch of Sentinels. Fun fact, that face was that of Lily Wachowski's nephew. The things you learned from me. So Deus Ex Machina plugs Neo into the Matrix for the purposes of defeating Agent Smith and saving both the humans and the machines. In a form of good faith, the machines attacking Zion become docile as Neo confronts Smith for the final battle.
Mr. Anderson, welcome back. We missed you.
Now, people talk about this fight as if it was too much. I mean, it was very long. And there were a couple surprise appearances by plastic CGI Neo. But it was dark and stormy, so the contrast wasn't as pronounced. The fight seemed evenly matched due to Smith assimilating the Oracle along with every single other inhabitant of the Matrix. I mean, that's all the programs, so he's got all the cheat codes. There was some very Dragon Ball Z style fighting going on where they fly around and they make some Man of Steel level city destruction. But the fight scenes on the ground were pure Wachowski. They matched with the stormy atmosphere. If you haven't figured out now, I'm a sucker for dramatic scenes in the rain. And the score was unbelievable for this scene. The scene was one of the best parts in the series, and it was fitting for the end battle. Now, the end of the fight plays more to the Jesus allegory that kind of parallels to the series that it has before, but this one really punches it in. As Smith takes over Neo, he kills him and assimilates him. But with the help of Deus Ex Machina, see that? He's resurrected to finish off Smith and to save the Matrix. The machines retreat from Zion, the Matrix gets a soft reboot, and the Architect meets the Oracle in the park, as everyone's returned to normal once Agent Smith was completely erased from this program simulation. Program simulation. The Matrix. The whole world. You know what I'm talking about. And they agree that peace will last as long as it can, and that those humans who desire it will be offered the opportunity to leave the Matrix. The Oracle tells Sati, who created a beautiful sunset for Neo, because that is her programming. She tells Sati that she thinks that she will see Neo again. Seraph asks the Oracle if she knew this would happen, and she replies that she did not know, but she believed. And that's where the series ends. For now. Now, like I mentioned before, there was a canon story in The Matrix Online. The game didn't last very long, but there was a pretty lengthy set of stories that continued the universe. Morpheus was captured again and killed this time during an attempt to find the pieces of Neo's digital body inside the Matrix. I don't really play online games, but I played the hell out of the Matrix Online. It was shut down really not long after release. I'll leave a link in this video's description to the wiki where you can read the story if you're interested. It's really cool. In conclusion, I believe The Matrix Revolutions was the better of the sequels. But it needed Reloaded to even make sense. It needed that connection to bridge the entire story. The acting was improved, the slick editing and camera work was back, and the music was still Matrix-worthy. Especially the epic piece for the Neo-Smith fight. Neo-Smith. It's just like some guy making Neos. Having a hard day? Yes, I know. Here's your copy of the one. The piece was entitled Navras by Juno Reactor, and composer Don Davis, who's done the Matrix from the beginning. With its crescendos and choral parts, it's right up there with Star Wars Duel of the Fates. I'm serious. But this has a cool like dance beat to it in there too because of Juno Reactor. I honestly think people were so turned off by their high expectations of The Matrix Reloaded that they didn't even give this movie a real chance. But I'm glad I did. I was in that camp. I wasn't let down by The Matrix Reloaded when I first saw it, and I had mentioned that in the video before. But it didn't make me excited to see more exposition and world building in 2003 when I wasn't so into it all. I'm glad I got the chance to rewatch it again with discerning eyes and this new feeling of wanting to learn more. I was fully invested. I was emotional. I was totally sucked into this movie. And I was sucked in almost as much as I was that monumental night in 1999. Thank you so much for coming with me on the, well, I guess now we call it the original Matrix trilogy. Anyway, how do you feel about Revolutions? How do you feel about the series as a whole? Do you think it aged well? Are you excited for Resurrections? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Also, remember to like and subscribe. I don't know why I pointed over here. It's usually right here. It lets me know that I'm not just making these to hear myself talk, even though I probably would still make these just to hear myself talk. And also check out Cinemadnesspodcast.com to find all of our other media and other fun stuff. It's a good place to find our old and new podcast episodes, which they just keep coming out. We're like a freight train piloted by the guy from Mad Max. Neovember has come to an end, but that doesn't mean Retro Rewatch has as well. And I hope you continue to come with me on my journey through movies from my past, which I said I'd always enjoy, and see if I still love them. Time to sign off. So this is Adam saying, end of line. What do you mean it's the wrong movie?